The Zombies HUD, a staple throughout Call of Duty Zombies that's evolved and changed over the years. But arguably since Black Ops 4 and especially with Black Ops 6, the Zombies HUD is a point of contention in the community. Treyarch has already announced for the first time you'll be able to customize your HUD via a selection of preset HUDs, as well as turning off certain parts of the HUD like the minimap, the zombie health bars, amongst other things. But today we're discussing a new leak that could solve a huge complaint that some in the community have towards the HUD in Black Ops 6. Now, not everyone dislikes the way the HUD looks in Black Ops 6 Zombies, but there's definitely a large amount of people that want it to look more zombified or don't like some of the things that are part of the HUD. And when it comes to the HUD, I'm pretty impartial. But universally, I think we can all agree that it would be nice if there was a more zombie-specific HUD in BO6 Zombies. And I guarantee the feedback that you leave in the comments below about the idea of what we're going to be talking about and the HUD in general will be useful for Treyarch going forward, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, but keep it respectful. But up until now, the only confirmed changes you can make to the HUD is choose from a selection of preset layouts, which includes a legacy setting that removes the minimap and positions elements in the same place as the HUD in Black Ops 3. This is already a thing in the Black Ops 6 beta for multiplayer, where you can choose amongst several presets that change and resize certain elements to your liking. There's even a few presets in the beta that are locked right now, such as immersive and streamer, where immersive might just turn off absolutely every HUD element, giving you a hardcore experience for both multiplayer and zombies. But regardless of the preset you choose, all you can do is change the HUD color palette as well as a color filter on the overall game. You can't actually adjust or resize any of the HUD elements. This is what that Black Ops 3 Legacy HUD looks like, and in my opinion it definitely looks better, but it still doesn't quite look how it sounds when you hear the words Black Ops 3 HUD. Outside of these HUD presets, you can turn off certain elements like the health bars and damage numbers, but you cannot customize or create your own HUD setup. You have to select one of the preset HUDs in the game. Well, this new leak, which originated from a Twitter user called JacksonKeckW, discovered that within the Black Ops 6 beta is a secret HUD editor that goes beyond just the presets and allows you to choose the specific size, opacity, and position of each individual HUD element, allowing you to create your own HUD layout and save it for use in the game. Now, this version of the HUD editor that JacksonKeckW loaded in was clearly unfinished, which makes sense considering we're playing a beta version of Black Ops 6, but he also had to force load it into the PC version using code. So it's not an option that is publicly available for everyone to just go ahead and mess around with. And because of the method of loading it into the game involved modifying the game's code, Activision struck the video on Twitter and YouTube, so I unfortunately cannot show you any images of this HUD editor. But what I can do is discuss every single element of the Zombies HUD, which can potentially be toggled on or off and be moved. Now, we have to bear in mind that the existence of a HUD editor is very exciting. There is a chance this feature could simply be a developer tool. It could be scrapped content, and at its core, this version of it found in the beta is clearly a unfinished version, and therefore might not be something that we see with the full game's launch next month. We might not ever see it in the game at all, because when Terminus was first revealed, it was clarified that you cannot customize or create your own HUD setup in Zombies. You'll simply have a set of presets available at launch to pick from, but there will be more options coming post-launch depending on feedback. The Treyarch have made it very clear from the marketing all the way back from the Black Ops 6 Direct that this is the most customizable HUD in Call of Duty history. And surely if this HUD editor was actually coming to the game, they would have marketed it already and mentioned it during everything about the customizable HUD. So we're going to continue talking about this, but from the perspective of being cautiously optimistic, just from the fact that we don't even know if this thing is going to be in the final game or not. So let's now dive into all of the HUD options that Jackson was able to find was part of the toggable HUD elements for Black Ops 6 Zombies. And these are specific solely to Zombies, which includes HUD elements like the quest objective, the trials tracker, a pop-up notification for the main Easter egg quest objectives, a pop-up for the power-ups, a pop-up for the dialogue speaker when someone is talking to you in-game, the ammo counter panel, another trial challenge pop-up, potentially for completion, and finally a pop-up for the squad vote widget, which includes all players being prompted to either accept or decline certain activities such as exfilling, the rampage inducer activation, or accepting a player joining the game. And those are just the things that are specifically Zombies HUD elements only, but according to Jackson, all of the current default HUD presets have separate zombie sections that modify the zombie HUD elements already, including the round number, the position of the round number, the minimap wrapper and the opacity of it, the armor health wrapper, as well as the positions of it and the opacity. The amount of different elements that make up the HUD in Black Ops 6 is a massive list, and the fact that this editor has the potential of resizing, rechanging and removing every single specific thing is a really huge deal. And if this does end up being real, then it will alleviate a lot of the complaints that some community members have when it comes to the HUD in BO6. Now, let's not get it twisted. It won't alleviate all the complaints, because this still doesn't solve the complaint that some in the community have where the HUD just doesn't look and feel like a Zombies HUD. And regardless of what you can change, what you can't change, and this HUD editor news, if it does end up being in the full game, is definitely something that's going to help the conversation towards the Zombies HUD. But for some, it's not going to be the overall solution that will solve the complaint that some people have, where they just want a more unique Zombies HUD where it doesn't look almost the exact same as multiplayer. And being able to choose a preset that gets rid of the minimap, and also being able to turn on or off the health bars, the damage numbers, that is already at its core a very positive thing to be able to do. But I definitely agree that Treyarch could do a little bit more in this department to make it feel a little bit more special. And what is funny is Treyarch already have a more zombified HUD in the game, as when you use the mutant injection in Zombies, you get a different HUD in the bottom left showcasing a character icon of the mangler, as well as showcasing your health, as well as the points and salvage slightly differently. And I think this already has a lot more character than what we currently have in BO6. That gets us to a similar place to where we were with Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4's HUD when it comes to showing actual character icons. And on top of that, for Battle.net, there was a load of profile icons that released with the beta, and there's 4 images of each of the zombie set crew characters, and they are actually stylized and look like they would fit perfectly in a circular HUD icon in the bottom left. And fundamentally, I think this is a much better looking HUD for the bottom left, because the points and the salvage are a lot bigger. They seem to be a bit bolder as well, so it's just an easier thing to look at quickly and read because the numbers are bigger. And when I played Liberty Falls at COD Next, especially when it came to looking at the points being on the right, they both seem like they're very small text sizes. But I would appreciate if they were a lot bigger and a lot more easier, and was probably the first thing that your eyes see, rather than having to look around between the salvage number as well as your health points, which also is quite small, as well as the armor, and then seeing the self-revive. Like, even that as an element in itself might be something that I don't think is necessary that needs to be shown. Perhaps there could just be a plus icon to the left of your name to show you have a self-revive instead. But then that would also be another Warzone-ified HUD element added into Zombies, which some people might not like. I think in general though, showing the mutant injection HUD shows that there is the potential for a different style HUD to be in Zombies. It takes up a little bit more of the screen, but the benefit of that is the information that you need to see is bigger, which in my opinion is definitely more useful and visually easier to see and read. Now, as I've been saying before, this HUD editor, if it does actually end up being in the game, it's not a full-on solution because it still won't allow you to zombify the HUD. But even if it doesn't exist, being able to turn off the health bars as well as the damage numbers is a massive thing towards the game visually looking a bit more like the older style of Zombies, where it visually looks a lot cleaner. You're able to just see the zombies, which some people might prefer. But let me know, if this HUD editor does actually end up being a thing, would you be excited to see it and would you use it? Because as mentioned, with all of those things that it affects, you'd be able to resize everything and get rid of everything if you wanted to. There is already a HUD preset called Immersive, which sounds like hardcore mode for the entire game. But if, for instance, you just wanted to turn off the minimap and the coordinates and the sort of name of the location for each area, you could do that with that HUD editor, but you'd still have the round counter on screen as it is in the same size. The stuff in the bottom left would remain. But imagine if you could edit the position of the perks. I do think compared to Cold War, there is a weird gap in the perks, which there wasn't in Cold War. You'd be able to make the perks bigger, potentially even resize them, move them to a different part of the screen entirely so they could be more to the the bottom left. I think the freedom of choice is ultimately the best thing for everyone. But again, we just don't know for sure if this HUD editor is even going to be a thing in the full game. As I'm editing this video, Treyarch has just fully removed it completely from the beta, according to Jackson. So we'll just have to see what happens. And for some of you watching, the HUD might be an absolute nothing burger to you and you don't really mind whatsoever. And if that's the case, then that's completely fine. Again, this video isn't designed to be an argument war between which game had better HUDs, if this game has the worst HUD that we've ever seen. None of that. We're just having a discussion about the potential of being able to completely customize it, on top of the fact that you can already change some bits and pieces and apply some presets. And ultimately, giving Treyarch the feedback on this HUD editor, the HUD in general, is obviously going to be very useful for them going forwards, as like it was mentioned with Charlie Intel's tweet, the presets for the HUDs are what are coming at launch, but then depending on feedback, there could be some more stuff post-launch, which very well could take on board your feedback. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and also how game-changing this HUD editor could be for you, or if you're in the camp of someone that doesn't really mind all that much, or think it won't really change much, as ultimately there is still more work to be done to make the HUD look more like a Zombies HUD. I've already given a few suggestions in this video, but I think one final thing that I would like to see changed is the pop-up for the bubblegum activation in the top right box. You saw it a few seconds ago, and it just doesn't look very Zombies, and also it doesn't give you the information on what the bubblegum itself does. There's a lot of new players playing this game that didn't play Black Ops 3, that don't know the ins and outs of what each bubblegum does, and I think not having the effect written in text as well on what the bubblegum does is a bit of a weird thing to miss out, considering it was a thing in BO3. So perhaps that could appear in the center of the screen like it did in BO3 and have a text description as well. Let me know your thoughts, but if you want to watch another Black Ops 6 Zombies video, then it's right here on your screen. Click it. I'll be with you in just a moment.